everyone, welcome to a Saturday that you have just put aside for yourself to do synth stuff. So give yourself a massive pat on the back because that's what we should all be doing, everyone. And if you're not doing it, then yeah, hold your head in shame. No, just kidding. How's everyone going? It's been good. Good weekend. Nice new weekend for everyone. Hoping that you do get a bit of time off work and you can play with your gear. Well, what have we got today? We've got a lot of stuff happening today. I kind of felt like last week we were quiet on the news, quiet on a few things. So this week we'll be making up for that because there's every segment is full. We've got Name That Synth guaranteed. We've got lots and lots and lots of memes and price watch and news, of course, as well. So all the regular stuff happening in about an hour's time. Stick around for that, and if you can't stick around, you can watch it on the replay. But for now, we are going to, well, we're going to have a little chat. We're going to chat about the topic today, which I think is an interesting one. And that is, if you didn't just see it just then, it's what do you prefer, modular, desktop, or keyboard-based synths? And I think the answer is probably going to be mixed with most of us, but some people actually do have a preference and they might actually gravitate towards that preference and they stick to that. Some people don't like to clutter their desktops with little modules. Some people like to have nice stands and keyboards everywhere. Some people like to be directly playing their synths. And some people like this new modular thing that seems to be taking shape where people are building desktop synths and you can unscrew them and pop them into modular stuff. Whether it's Euro rack or 19-inch rack, it doesn't really matter. It's still modular in some sort of way. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And while we're talking about that, we're also going to sort of dig into that a little bit more. So it's not just going to be superficial about what do you prefer. It's going to be why do you prefer it? What does it actually do for you? And how does that sort of shape your setup? How does your studio shape as a result of that? And I think it's going to be a good segue because in the next couple of weeks, we are well and truly overdue to do another subscriber studio special. And this will be number 3. So I'm giving you guys all a bit of a heads up. And that is send in your pics to me via Discord, via socials, via email if you like, of your studio as it is right now. Warts and all, doesn't matter if you got your dirty undies on the floor, send it in. And we're going to show them on the show coming up in the next, we'll give it a couple of weeks maybe. If we get lots in during the week, maybe we'll do it next week. But it's been a very popular segment in the past. So subscriber studios coming up. If I don't get very many, it's going to take weeks before we can do that one. But hopefully you guys are behind it. Even if you've sent yours in to a previous episode in the past, and it's been a while since we've done one, send an updated one because, hey, things have changed. I mean, if you looked at just this studio that I'm in here, you'll notice that things have slowly evolved and changed in here. So you're all going to be in that situation. So that will be a cool show to look forward to. And hey, what we'll do is we'll get some guests on, we'll talk about their studios, we'll talk about how that's all progressed. So looking forward to that. That's one of my favorites because it's all about you guys and that's what really this is all about, isn't it? Now, let's have a quick g'day to the chatties. No one's here yet. And by the way, if you do hear noise in the background, once again, I have another rainy day like last week. So yeah, let's have the chatties there. I think Inverted Popes was first. He gets the Guernsey of being early. So big hello to IP, Chob. And he's also one of our channel members as well. So that's awesome. Also Keith in Watford, g'day to you. Also another one of our channel members. Hello to Brett Lemmings. Nice to see you, mate. Martin Taylor, g'day from Martin. And he's one of the early birds as well. Asia Head was next. Bert, good to see you, mate. Who else we got? Steve Power, one of our Patreons, I think. Steve is. Big hello to you. Merbert, good to see you, mate. Wow, that rain is loud. I am going to have to do some sort of noise cancelling on that. I think. We'll get to that in a sec, unless it sort of calms down. I've got a metal roof above me in the studio, which is why it's so loud. Who else we got? What did I get up to? I said those guys. Nice to see Homegrown, one of our new channel members, so it's good to see you, mate. Neil Wharton's there. He says, good afternoon, everybody. Who else have we got? Nice to see all you guys coming in early now. I think you guys are getting used to the early show. AdoZ's there. Daniela's, nice to see Daniela. Hope that part of the world is going okay for you. Good to see Lisa. Inky the Cat. Nice to see Lisa. What did I get up to? I got up to Lisa. I got up. Kent is there. Big Kent. Nice to see you, Kent. One of our channel members as well. And Wagoo's jumped in. Nice to see you, mate. Scott's there from all the way over in the United States of America. Good to see you, Scotty. Mate, if you've got time today, you're welcome to jump on. Or any of you guys are welcome to jump on. I do have one spare guest spot if anyone wants it. Who else? Neil Wharton. Artman. Hello from Germany, says Artman. Big hello to you, mate. Hello from all of us. We're all over the world, but I'm based in sunny Perth. That's not really sunny at the moment, in Western Australia. So George Kempson's there. Good to see George. And I think that is probably it for now. And everyone's jumping into chat and putting their name on the screen. So good on you. Good on you for doing that. Guest-wise, we do have a few guests coming in today, just our regulars though. So we've got Darren, of course. Nice to see Darren back. He's after his couple of weeks off, so he's back in. We've also got Andy Brooks. He's going to be on as well. And also Andy from the US Synth Addict, we know him as. He's going to be jumping in as well. So hopefully those guys will be joining us soon. Now, as the regulars will know, we do this kind of early show where we muck around, noodle, chew the fat, talk about stuff, whatever. And then the main show starts at the start of the next hour. So if you're in the UK, that's 2 o'clock. If you're in another part of the world, it could be, I don't know, if you're in New York, it'd probably be 10 o'clock. I'm not sure, 9 o'clock, I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever that works out to be. I always get confused about time zones and stuff, so you guys can work out your time zone. I know what time it is here. That's the main thing. The like button looks a little dusty. Yes, it does, Ohm. It does. That doesn't matter. Look, if they don't like it, they don't like it. You know, that's life. And you know, we'll persevere. Okay, right. Now, what have we got to talk about today? Now, I don't have any gear to show you, any new gear, that is. So that's okay. I need to save my pennies at the moment. Things are getting tight in the world, aren't they? Aren't they? Inflation and interest rates and I don't know. Don't know, guys. And I kind of wonder what is going to happen with the synth market as a result of this. Now, you'll probably think, who cares? You know, synth market is for people that sell synths. Well, it is and it isn't. It's also for us. And we may see the used market deflate and the new market inflate. Now, this is kind of a phenomenon that happens and you think, why would that happen? Well, when times are tough, people sell their gear. And then you get a more of a supply than a demand situation in the used market. And that may be a ripe situation for us who have been waiting for that special deal to come through. So just hold tight on that. You never know, that might be a positive for us if we're sort of waiting on some used gear to come through. And for the new stuff, this shortage of chips and shortage of manufacturing and problems with couriers and things like that, you never know, that might cause some inflation. So not really sure. And I just think we, as a whole bunch of us are consumers here, we keep an eye on that. Hey, you never know, it might be something that happens to us. It definitely is something that's happening in other parts of the world with the economy. So I wouldn't be surprised. As a result, we may actually be just having a bit of a quiet period coming up when it comes to new gear. And we kind of do that, don't we? We kind of, we just sort of chill the jets a bit. and just enjoy the stuff that we've got. And other people, you know, they might say, stuff it, I'm just going to keep buying. I don't care. So gear-wise, that is, I think, an interesting thing that's coming up. And Merbit said, maths is hard. It is a bit. It is. I agree. God, whatever you do, don't go to uni and do maths like I did many years ago. That was not a very smart thing to do. I enjoyed it though, but I mean, God, it was really hard. We'll just see Mark on. I haven't seen Mark for a while. He's one of our Patreons. He's saying he's sick as a dog. So good to see you, mate, and get well if you are feeling poorly. Maybe if you could watch the show just with your phone in the bed or something. Just sort of chill out, just rest. Get yourself a cup of veggie soup or chicken soup or something like that. Yeah. So that's not good to hear that you're not well, but wishing you all the best anyway. And anyone else who's feeling a bit poorly. This time of the year, I think in the Northern Hemisphere, you guys are probably all getting out on the beaches and getting suntans and things like that. So you're probably enjoying the nice warm weather in your part of the world. Down where I live here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's been cold and it's been rainy and yeah, I kind of don't mind it though. So anyway, we shall persevere with synth talk. Right, so why don't we have a little look at this synth over here. Now, why am I showing this synth? Well, today we are going to talk about this synth. This is, if you're wondering what this is the Roland System 8. And this is a synth that is feeling very left out when it comes to things like aftertouch. But jokes aside, the System 8 is, it's almost like the synth of promise at the time when it came out, because they have this wonderful thing on there where you can actually, you kind of put these plug-out synths in it. So by factory default, they came with the Jupiter 8, they came with the Juno 6, it was the Juno 106 at the time. And then you had a third area where you could load your own plug out. You could put anything on there from that they had available. They had System 1, they had System 100, they had the ProMars, which is the monophonic synth. SH2, I think, was another one. They might have had the SH101. Yeah, they did. They had the SH101. And so there was quite a few kind of interesting Roland emulations in there. And the news is, and we'll get to it during the news sections, there's a new plug out that they've just brought out in the last couple of days. So we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that particular plug out, I just want to kind of talk about this synth, because one of the things that people were saying probably even up to a year ago is, that's it, Roland have put that one on the shelf and they're not going to give it any more love. Now, don't forget, this had a really beautiful firmware update a couple of years ago where they added FM, they added a whole bunch of stuff. And I just kind of feel that people were probably right at the time. There was not going to be any more plug outs for this. Well, guess what? They brought a new plug out for it. And I think that's an amazing thing. So we will be checking that one out today. But I think just for our sake now, we're talking about desktops, modules or modular, and keyboard synths. And here we are, we have got a keyboard synth. Did you guys ever think that maybe the System 8 should have come out as a module or a desktop instead of the keyboard version? And I know a lot of people would probably say, hell yeah, that would have been a great idea. So if they did that, would they need to change the user interface at all? Because one of the beautiful things about this synth is there's a lot of knobs and controls on it, and it actually does give you a lot of hands-on without having to need to menu dive. So from a digital synth point of view, this is basically a subtractive analog modeling type synth in its way it's built. Yes, it does have FM and things like that, but what do you guys think? Do you reckon they could have made a module version of this or a desktop keyboard-less version of this? Would that have been cool? Now, I know a lot of people probably would have thought to themselves, well, they kind of did. They kind of did. They made another version of this, and Well, did they really? I don't. Let's not get into nitty-gritty. They did make another version of that synth. It's not the same thing, but let's move the camera over to the other version, and if I'm right, it should be just sitting over there. Boom, there it is there. The System 1. Now the System 1 is a different beast. The System 1 is a 4-voice. It does use the ACB technology, so it is similar in that sense. Oh, if you're wondering what the red is on it, that's a little overlay. So I'll show you guys that. You can just take that off. It's a little overlay. So we can just lift the overlay off. You'd have to move everything to the right spot to get it off though. I think that should get it off. There we go. It's been sitting on there for a long time. It probably won't even come off. These things are interesting, these overlays, because this is actually something that Roland were going to, do a lot more of. And I'll bring it over. You guys can see that's the actual not the original. That's what a System 1 looks like without the overlay on it. I'll bring the overlay over. You guys can check it out over here on my desk. And this is kind of where they were going to go with this plug out technology. So if I go to this camera here, here's the overlay. So this overlay is for the SH-101. And basically what this did is this made this synth kind of like the layout of an SH-101, right? That was pretty clever. And they should have done more of that. They should have done a System 100 overlay, and they probably, I don't know if they did. Who has got one of these overlays for this System 1s? I know that a lot of people don't have a System 1 because they didn't like the keyboard on it. Let's be honest, the keyboard on this thing was shocking, right? It was a very shocking keyboard. Wondering if I can get sound out of this. Let me take me off for a sec. Then we're going to get sound out of the System 1. Let me see. I think the System 1's plumbed in. Geez, that rain's loud. Let's see if we can get some sound out of it. I want to put the overlay back on because I kind of think it's sexy, considering that they're not as popular as you think. Right, we should be trying to get some sound out of this baby boy. Is it going through? Is it going through one of these things? Okay, it's going through the MX1. All right, cool. Beautiful. That makes it easy for me. I know where it's going now. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn the MX1 on. Audio in. Here we go. Sorry about the noise too. We'll probably need to turn my mic off. You guys should be able to hear that. Let's turn it up a bit too. Where is volume on this baby? There you go. It's a pretty good sounding synth for the money, I kind of feel, anyway. Okay, so we did have the System 1 working. Okay, what are you guys saying? I've been ignoring you. I'm just trying to see if anyone else has the overlay, and I can't really see. Don't know. Can't see. Overlay, underlay, delete. Yeah, 101 markings. How do you pitch bend on that? Just like I just showed you, and you think you worked it out. Said at OZ. So we asked the question before, do you think Roland should have made a desktop or a modular version of the System 8? And they kind of did. They made, obviously, this is kind of like a desktop synth. because let's face it, the keyboard on this is absolutely shocking. But they also made the System 1M, and I don't have one because I don't need one, but if you haven't ever seen a System 1M before, I'll bring a pickup for you guys. Now, a few people in here have got one. They're actually a Eurorack synth that Roland made, which is kind of bizarre, right? Roland making Eurorack synths, what the hell? Especially digital ones. Let's see if this is not a very high res picture. So why does YouTube do that to me? Okay, let's tuck it in here. And we'll just overlay it there. So that, sorry about the low res, but that's the System 1M. It's a Eurorack format. You can, use it as a module as well. In terms of HP and all that sort of stuff, I can't remember, it's pretty big. Specs wise, does it say HP on here? Don't think it does. Don't think it tells me how many HP it is, but it's in terms of width, it's 427 millimeters wide. So it's a pretty decent, thing in your rack. But that is basically most of the stuff that is on the system, except for the scatter. So it doesn't have that scatter knob. So if I turn that off, you'll see the scatter knob in the bottom left-hand corner. It doesn't have that. But it does have a whole bunch of CV, which the System 1 doesn't. So there's kind of give and take with this. Now, one of the things, there's a lot of people that have owned this and sold it. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk to you guys about who has had a System 1M and moved it on, and why. Is it too big for your rack? Did you not use it enough? We're saying it's 84 HP, it's a full 19-inch. Yeah, there you go. So it is pretty big. Artman's saying 2 years on his wish list. You can get them pretty cheap at the moment. They're not like insanely cheap, but they are, like I've seen them around the 350, 400 pound mark. It's pretty cheap, I think. Considering it's a four voice, dual VCO, it's analog modeling, it's not digital, but it's a Eurorack synth that you don't have to tune, put it that way. Yeah, did anyone have one and get rid of it, and why? Is it still in production, Brett? I don't think so. Because on the Roland website it says discontinued, so I would say you can't get them brand new anymore, but there might be one or two lying in a store somewhere around in the world, old stock sort of thing. I find that the best way to get them is just get a used one, because guys usually look after them. They've been sitting in a rack or something. So, but this does have the plug out ability. So we were talking about that before. So you can put an SH2 in there. You can put a ProMars. You can put a System 100. So you can turn this thing into a System 100, which I think it's actually a pretty cool thing. Turn this into a System 100 and you've got a fairly decent amount of controls on this. When you think about it, what was it, 84 something HP? That is a pretty decent amount of controls. You've got two oscillators, an LFO, you've got pitch control. The pitch control on that's actually very useful too. It's the same pitch control that's on the System 8 as well. And it also has built-in effects too. It's got a delay and a reverb effect on it. I don't know if you can patch directly into the effects only. I don't think you can. But in terms of that, it does all the firmware updates that it got. It's pretty decent. So it does also connect up to IRA. So if you do have an MX1 mixer, like I do, via USB, you can also get this thing to plug into your MX1 mixer. You can see it in the bottom left, right-hand corner there. So just like the System 1 does as well. So yeah, pretty handy. Now, I know this is old tech, but really, how old is it? Like really, when you think about it, how out of date is the stuff that Roland's brought out? And it's discontinued already. Like, why did they discontinue this? They do that. They did that with the IRA Eurorack modules like the Torcido and the Scooper and all those sort of things. I don't know why they discontinue stuff. Is it because they don't sell enough? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's annoying. So remembering today, we're talking about do you prefer desktop, modular, or keyboard synths? And we're kind of just I'm just sort of showing you a few examples of a few different things that have come out from Roland. And this is all kind of like the same family. So we showed the System 8, the System 1, and the System 1M, and they're kind of part of the same family, right? So when you look at the System 8 over here, that's a big, beautiful, you know, hands-on everything. Sorry about the demo light display on it. You know, there is a bit of menu diving for things like settings and stuff in there, but it's actually just, it's a thing of beauty, that synth. And like I said, you know, if anyone has ever tried, let me just turn me off. I'll go over to this and we'll see if we can get the Jupiter 8 sound on this. If you've never heard it before, it's actually a thing of beauty. It does sound like a Jupiter 8. Now I just got to work out where the audio is coming in on this. I need to set up an audio track. Just give me a sec. Did I write System 8 on here? And if I didn't, why? It's always the way with me. If I didn't write that, why did I not label that input? Give me a sec, 1 sec. I just got to turn my headphones over to here. What are we coming in on as? All right, let's get an arpeggiator happening on here. I can hear it. All right, good. So we are coming in on the MX1. Nice. So I don't need to change that. Okay, give me a sec. I'm just going to do a Jupiter 8 sound on this. So, turn that off. So we go, the plug outs are just here, and you just hit Jupiter 8, and then you just do some strings. It's really, these are just presets, but it does factory presets are kind of down, yeah, like the 80. Piano. Where is, yeah, here we go. So that's your Jupiter 8 sound, and it's got a whole bunch of, you know, beautiful sounding Jupiter 8 stuff in that, okay? And you've got Juno and you've got JX3P. Yeah. Now, where did you guys disappear to? There you are. So yeah, System 8, right? Yep. So System 8. It is a bit quiet, yeah, sorry. Probably should have turned the volume up. I didn't actually have my headphones on when I did that. I was literally playing that deaf. Okay, now I want, what the hell happened there? Ah, there. Okay, so like I was saying before, we were talking about desktops versus keyboards versus modules. Now the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about with modules is, yeah, there's kind of different types of modules. There's more than two, but the two most common types of modules that are out there. One are kind of like your 19-inch racks. They've been out for, you know, since the 70s and 80s. So they are types of modules. And when I say modules, I don't just mean those, or I don't just mean Eurorack. I mean modules as in modular type racking type setups. So when we were looking at this setup here, all right, oh, I don't need that. You can see, what do we got? we could probably change the camera on one of these. Doesn't really matter though. So here's like Eurorack modules. You know, you've got the system system 8 desktop, not desktop, system 8 keyboard there. Above my head here on that side, you can see there's the system 1, and just to the left of it is a mini log, right? Now they are classified as mini or mini keys or mini synths, and some people do call them desktop synths as well. So technically you could probably call that a desktop synth. Just because it's got a keyboard doesn't necessarily mean it's the full keyboard like the System 8 below. It's not a full keyboard anyway, it's only a smaller octave keyboard. And then on to the other side of me just here, you can see all the Eurorack stuff, and that's all modular stuff. But the other interesting thing is, as you can see just here, with the event of the, you know, like the Waldorf and this Nifty Keys by Create Audio, they are now bringing out these keyboards which have got basically a blank Eurorack thing in it, and then you can make your own synth basically, which is what I've been playing around with recently. Brooksy's just turned up. I'll add him into the foyer here. Hello, Mr. Brooks. Which one do we want to get rid of? Probably that one? No. Where has Brooksy gone? There. We'll put Brooksy there. He's here he is, Mr. Brooks. Hasn't got audio yet.
I pushed the wrong slider up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. You're coming through nice and clear.
Right, Mike.
Yep. Working.
Oh, lovely. Oh.
So I just bring you into the conversation. What we're talking about at the moment is the main topic of the show, and that is desktop versus modular versus keyboards, right? And do we tend to gravitate towards one or the other? And if so, why? And does that then dictate how your studio is set up? So you're probably pretty similar to me, Andy. So
yeah, I was thinking about this when I saw the topic go up. Yeah, yes, interesting thoughts, really.
I think the biggest thing for me is when I was thinking about this topic, and I was talking about it as well to a few people, I think it definitely has a major effect on your workflow. So if you look at that System 8 in the bottom right hand corner there, the way you work with that is going to be different than the way you'd work with that Eurorack setup just above it. Majorly different type of workflow. And you know, your knowledge about how it works, the way that you would get to sounds may be different. It might be quicker, it might be slower, it might be less flexible, it might be more flexible. The way you actually, you know, have your space set up as well is kind of interesting. By the way, that photo just to the right of me is actually just there. So you can see where my finger is. That is like you're looking at that Behringer case there from above. So it actually kind of looks like it's bigger than what it really is. It is pretty big though. What are they, 104 HP or something?
140.
140 HP,
2 times 140. Yeah.
What I find interesting is the nifty keys just below it. It's perfect. Like they are like that. I love that sort of little ramp I've got there of keys, then Eurorack, then Eurorack. It is a beautiful thing. The way I've done that, if you're ever wondering how I've done that, is underneath the Behringer case is a keyboard or a computer monitor stand. So those things that you buy from your local stationery shop or computer shop that you can put like a little wooden stand that lifts your monitor up and you can slide your keyboard underneath. I've shown them before on the show, but that's all that is, and it just lifts it up perfect height. There's enough gap there for me to shove some cables in. It's lovely. So that's a workflow thing, right? So for me, if I was to let's move this one. We go wee all the way around the studio. Look at that, you can do a quick flyer studio tour. You don't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Right, now we'll zoom out a bit because I want to do it this way. So when you're looking at that, forget about all the gaps and stuff because I'm still working. There is kind of where you sit, right? There's all my cables. Hang on a sec, got a cough. Here we go. Cables there, okay? Grab them, I can patch stuff and I can patch things from the 3 different rows. So when you think about that, that is a kind of nice little workstation for someone to get really into, their modular setup. And this is one form of modular. It's not the only form of modular. This is just one form of modular. So when we're talking about modular, we also are talking about the 19-inch stuff as well, which you and I, Andy, we've got 19-inch stuff. You were showing your bass thing the other day. Have you put that on eBay yet?
Yep, 24,000 quid.
That's great. Yeah. So I'm just interested to see what people think about this. What do you think synth makers should do? Do you think when they bring out a synth, like we just showed the System 8, the System 1 and the System 1M before, right? So Roland really did a good job of making kind of one to fit, varying degrees of markets there, which unfortunately they've discontinued two of them, but what do you think they should do? Like, do you think someone like Oberheim should be bringing out a module version of the new Oberheim X8 and then maybe even like some sort of, dare I say it, rack or module based version of it?
Oh, well, it's funny, isn't it, these things, because the answer is, I think they should, because there'll be lots of people who don't want another 5-octave keyboard or haven't got the space for another 5-octave keyboard. There'll be some people who have a perfectly nice master keyboard that they use to control everything and would be quite happy with just a small smaller box. Sequential have done that with the OB6 and the Prophet 6, so it's certainly in keeping with what's happened previously by Sequential. The Cobalt and the Argon 8s, they have similar form factors, don't they? Different sizes of keyboards, different sizes of standalone modules. The one that seems to have definitely gone out of the window these days is the 19-inch rack mounting unit, which you just don't seem to see them anymore. The very few synths seem to be made in 19-inch rack mount formats anymore, much to Wagyu's chagrin, I dare say.
Yeah,
he likes those, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But it's like, look over here. I mean, I've got a couple of what you'd call desktop synths. I've got the TD3. I've got the what's that thing called? The SH01A. To my right here, I've got Volkers. I've had the Electros. These are all sort of little desktop things. And suddenly, when you've got all these things, you go think, God, I haven't got a desk big enough to spread them out on. It's like, they do take up surface area, and then sometimes finding where to put them so that you get at them nicely is not always easy, and that's where I suppose a 19-inch rack where you just go, they're all in there, jump, has got a lot going for it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of think that we probably should have more options when it comes to those things. Sorry, I'm just trying to get Darren, who's just turned up, into the corner. I
need 19-inch rack stuff.
You need 19-inch rack stuff?
Yeah, because I've got no room to put. Never mind a 5-octave keyboard. I haven't got enough room to put a 3-octave keyboard in here.
That was kind of one of the goals I wanted with this setup here. Is that you probably noticed that there's not a lot of keyboards synths in this space, but I do have them. I just don't have them out. I mean, there's a few behind my head over in that back sort of corner there. But yeah, I've been purposely sort of putting them out and then swapping it with the space for another keyboard synth and then putting the other one away in a cupboard. And I've been doing that on purpose because everything is, I want to control it through MIDI as much as I can. The only negative thing with that though, is that you don't get access to, especially if it's like a, like an Odyssey or something like that, you can control the notes with MIDI, but you can't control anything else. You actually have to be physically at the synth, like a Pro 1 and those sort of things. You can't really get away with playing those without actually be physically at them because all the controls are analog and there's no digital, manipulation or MIDI manipulation with that. So that kind of sucks. But, things like System 8, System 1, even the Mini Log, a lot of that stuff I can get access to through MIDI CC or NRPNs, and I don't even have to go over there. Patch management, all that sort of stuff. So when it comes to synths being made as modules or desktops, that for me is actually kind of ticking a lot of boxes because A, it's not taking up huge amounts of studio space. I don't have to sort of rig a keyboard up and then have tiers and all that sort of stuff. Like Darren, if you move your chair to the side slightly, you can see what I'm talking about. Darren has got his 3 or 4 tiered keyboard stand using the Jaspers, right? So I absolutely love what he's done there. And that to him has been such a successful setup that he's just kept it like that pretty much. His whole studio is kind of, central to that at the back part. I mean, I know you work, Darren, more in front of you where you are, but you just have to spin your chair around. You've got 3 beautiful keyboards there that you can play. So for me, I was considering putting a Jasper setup in that back corner there where you can see those blue lights and actually having like a 4-tier setup there. But I don't know, I've enjoyed having the MIDI control. You know what I mean, Andy? It's like not being sort of stuck with having just to keep synths out for the sake of it. It's not. They're not there for show. They're there to be used if that makes sense.
Well, it's interesting because I'm actually thinking of a Jaspers to go behind me there. See what that sort of like bookshelf thing is, but taking that out, put bookshelves on the wall, put a Jaspers in front of it, 3 or 4 tier. Sort of perhaps one of the wider ones that perhaps might accommodate a piano length, an 88 note keyboard, possibly. Do I really need that? Possibly not. Because I used to have my electronic piano here. It's pretty shitty electronic piano, but I mean it's so that's enough space. But it's a bit of a squeeze the other end. But I sort of think it can be done. So yeah, I quite like what Darren's done with all those Jaspers and customize them and alter them and to create that his cage that he sort of dwells in. It's very cleverly done. Not sure I'm up to that sort of level of design, but
yeah, it's a dwelling cage.
He lives in a dwelling.
That's right. His own little troglodyte cave.
Yeah, because you need to see. I'll have to do a video so you can see all the way around since it's finished. I think. Yeah, I do.
We'd like to see that
in the daylight.
What he's never told any of us is that those shelves behind him, it's actually a secret door that it goes into a massive, huge studio. Like, think Depeche Mode studio, right?
There's a Colossus in the back there and everything. A big SLL mixing desk.
Like the Vince Clarke studio, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys are wondering where this conversation kind of stemmed from, it was basically the Moog Mavis that came out, right, during the week, as you guys know. And just about everyone's seen about 14 million Moog Mavis videos now, thanks to all the free ones that they've given to all the YouTubers, except me. No, just kidding. And what I thought was, I had a friend talk to me about I should get a Moog Mavis, and I said to him, okay, so why do you want it's one of those sort of things. And it's new, it's shiny, and everyone's getting excited about it. Why do you want this Moog Mavis? What is it attracting you? And we sort of started talking about the desktop synth thing, and this is kind of where it stemmed from. And then he's like, well, I like how you can pull it out of the little case that it's in and put it in your Eurorack if you want to manipulate it in Eurorack as well. And I thought that was cool. And I said to him, yeah, but why don't you just get, if you want the Moog sound, why don't you just get that? It's probably cheaper. It is a Moog sound, and you can put it in your Eurorack. It also has an extra oscillator too. So I kind of, that was where the conversation went, and I kind of thought, there's a few things that are different on the Mavis that's not on that, and there's a few things that are on that that's not on the Mavis, and we're starting to get into sort of Moog versus Moog cloning, and the conversation went completely off topic. But where I sort of stopped and thought was the actual point about his workflow, and that was he wanted it because it fit a specific need with his workflow. And like Brooksy, what you were saying is it was a desktop synth, and then that gave him another option if he wanted to. He could chuck it in his rack. Now, so on your setup there, Brooksy, if you look, if everyone's looking at Brooksy's Eurorack case up on the back left-hand side, he's got synths in there that come out of desktop module cases. So he's got the...
Oh, got my finger in the right place. There it is.
Yeah.
There were that one and that one.
Yeah. And
well, so easy to do.
Yeah. The beauty of that means, for now it's nice and tied in with all his Eurorack gear. But if he ever wants to, he can pull it back out and put them on back in their little sort of standalone cases. That's a cool thing, isn't it?
Well, the Pro 1, the Behringer Pro 1 is almost certainly going to come back out of that rack to free up space as this rack here has more things go in it, more sort of, let's say, interesting Eurorack kind of modules, which some of I've got recently, and some will continue to come. I'll have to move things out because I've got about 10 HP of space left in it now. There's not a lot of room. So things that I use less will probably come out and go over. I'm even sort of thinking about alternative ways of doing some of the things I've already done. So this is typical. I'm looking at, Dupfer do a nice dual VCA, which only takes up 6 HP. And they do all those LFOs, and they take up 6 HP, and that's loads of space freed up, and I could move those System 100 modules over there because that would free them up, and then there's that nice Dupfer synth voice, and that's much smaller than the 110 module. I'm all about sort of squeezing more room. It's thinking, well, hang on a minute, you've actually got this stuff, and it works perfectly well. But it's all about, for me at the minute, I'm sort of trying to work out ways of rationalizing it into sort of self-contained sort of units of this bit does this bit does this, and so on. It's definitely going that way with that, certainly with that particular rack. I mean, this one on the right-hand side is what I call my main rig. You see, that's the one that's all patched up, and this is like overspill. I've not really used the 960 and the D for a while, actually. I've not done anything with that. It's all focused been on here. But certainly that's sort of a plan. And little, I say little modules, things like that Moog Mavis. I mean, I looked at that and it's really tempting. But like you said, eventually I went, Andy, you've got a D sitting in your rack. Why would you do that? It was like, that doesn't make sense once you've given yourself a bit of a slap and got, no, come on, wake up.
Well, yeah, it depends on the sound or it depends on the function. Yeah. And a couple of points were, who was it? Artman in the chat said that he likes the fact that the Mavis has got a CV keyboard on the front panel. So we will talk about the Mavis when we get into the news section, but that CV keyboard can be used for other gear. So you could literally use that as some sort of, thing if that's what you want. So that's function based, and there's a couple of other functions in that thing that I find interesting, like the way that the 2-channel mixer works in that. So that it could be what it functionally provides. Maybe more of a reason why you would get it, as opposed to just getting that Moog lattice filter sort of, with the oscillator type sound. I mean, really, it does really sound like a work stat to my ears. And then, when you're sort of manipulating the connections and getting sort of more funky with it, you can get it to be a lot different to a workstat but the actual raw sound of it itself is pretty much just a workstat. But yeah, there you go.
I actually thought it sounded really nice. I thought the basic raw sound of it was lovely. The filter sounded great, and definitely once you got into some of the more esoteric stuff, with the wave folding and things, I thought, oh, now this is going into different territory. But it does have that. It does have that certain something which is, that's definitely Moog, which is nice. I mean, it's not that dissimilar to the Mother 32, for example, but that's obviously considerably more expensive.
Now, I should mention, whilst I had my back turned, Wagoo snuck a sneaky 6.66 CHF, or chuffs, as we like to call it, into the chat. So a big thank you to Wagoo. I did miss that while we had our backs turned. Chuffs, he's chuffing along. Beautiful. And we'll get back into this discussion, I think, after the main show about desktops and keyboards. There is one thing I kind of do want to touch on with keyboards, and you guys can just sort of have a little think about this in the background whilst we sort of talk about the other stuff in a sec. If we're going to perform, okay, if we're going to go out and perform somewhere, unless you're kind of one of these DJs that doesn't ever need really a keyboard at all, you might just be, launching pads or press and start, that sort of stuff, right? I kind of feel, there's got to be room for a keyboard, at least one, in your setup. You've got to have some sort of, I feel you've got to have some sort of decent octave bass, decent quality keyboard that you've got to have in your setup. And some people just have a MIDI controller, and that is it. And some people have lots and lots of keyboards. And I'm kind of interested to see what everyone's thoughts are on that. Could you exist in your setup with just one keyboard and then, put everything away somewhere and just connect it up, just the audio and the MIDI to it, and, use it that way? Or do you have to actually be in front of it, use it because of the way that brings you an energy and a user interface? Like we were saying before, in Odyssey, you can't really just connect that up to MIDI and play it because you can't access any of the analog controls on it, right? So how would you feel, guys, if you just had one keyboard? Would it be a massive challenge?
And in here at the minute, I've got three, really. I mean, I've got the Supernova here, which tends to be my master keyboard when using it with MIDI. I've got the little Keystep 37 there, which I actually play more than anything else. Because I have that hooked up to the modular quite happily, or I have that hooked up to the MPC just via USB cable, and it works beautifully just for triggering that. Because whilst I can hit pads, it's a pretty lame way of playing anything in it. So I always use the keyboard, and then there's obviously the keyboard on the Pro one, which I tend to just have it. That's not MIDI'd up or even CV'd up at the moment. It's just there, and I sort of just play it when I feel like it. So, but I know in the past I've definitely had, certainly when with Chillage people, it was I had the W30 as a keyboard, and the Pro one, and an SH101. So I had three keyboards, and they were all doing different things, and I was playing all of them, and it was just a different way. It was. Well, then I'm actually a keyboard player. I like to play keyboards, so it's nice to have those things. And I think part of me also hankers after the sort of like Rick Wakeman banks of keyboards surrounded by them, and get me a gold lame cape and all that sort of thing. That definitely is part of it, but it's not necessary. And in reality, in a little room where you don't have a lot of space, having banks and banks of 5-octave keyboards is actually not necessarily a good use of space in reality. So did I say
good
in
answer.
reality twice in one sentence there?
I'm going to get to Darren, but I think some of the chatties made some good comments here. So David said that he wants to have one normal keys, which I'm guessing is kind of like a 6-octave or more full-size keyboard, and one small keys, maybe like you said, like the Keystep, right? And for that's good enough for him. A few people are saying that, like Laurent said, that I have no keyboards. The machine does everything. Okay, interesting. Digital Nation saying one keyboard is good for me. Yeah.
On hardware jams, you see quite a few of the people there, and there are no keyboards at all. You know, you get to see guys with different sort of electron devices or MPCs and the various little boxes, and you often don't actually see a keyboard. If you do, it's just something like that. And you know, it's actually setups like this in reality.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of what people seem to have, and the banks of keyboards is not necessarily a modern way of doing it. You know, so yeah, actually, talk about that. I mean, Inverted Popes and the way he works. He's got his Moog towers, and he's got his Eurorack system, and he's also got Matriarch, which is a beautiful keyboard. But you know, I mean, again, Popes is a keyboard player at heart. He was back then. So there are lots. I mean, I think it depends on how you yourself want to express it. And if you're one of those people that can quite happily do everything you need on the pads of, say, something like an MPC or the Machine, yeah, then go ahead, fill your boots with that. Or like things like the Akai Force, and the Dell uses sort of grids format circuits. You know, that way of doing it suits a lot of people who aren't necessarily keyboard players. You don't have to be a keyboard player to use synths. I mean, we think of synths as keyboard instruments only because Moog chose to stick one on because it was a convenient way of adding loads of switches, basically.
Yeah.
And it was marketing, basically. Moog was told, he said, if you want this to appeal to musicians, you need to put a keyboard on it because they understand keyboards.
Yeah,
They know what that is, which really all it was is just a whole bank of on-off switches, really.
Or if you, I mean, it's a completely other discussion, but if you look at the success of Moog versus Buchla at the time, do you know what I mean? That will probably sort of give you an indication of which one was the more sensible, business decision. I'm not saying sensible music decision, but business decision. Yeah. Darren, same question to you. You know, if you had to use one keyboard, would you be able to work that into your setup? It's kind of what you do, though.
Yeah,
isn't it?
quite easily. I'll just answer Brett. It's a XP50. Yeah, I think one keyboard is for me because I'm not a keyboard player. So, seeing as I can't play the keyboards like Andy or someone like that, a keyboard's not a necessary thing for me. The reason I've got these keyboards is because I sort of collected them. Well, I won't say collected, but I got them back in the day when I couldn't even write music, and they just got stored. So, really, this could be a bank, a bit like Wagyu, a bank of 19-inch rack synthesizers, which would be a lot more space saving, and you can still take that out on stage with one or maybe two sort of controller keyboards. I can quite happily. But on the other hand, I do like to play. Well, I say play, I can't play, but I do like to, in my way, play the keyboards when I'm doing, trying out different melodies, different sounds, or whatever I happen to be doing. So I quite happily turn around and use the actual keyboard itself. I don't necessarily use my main controller keyboard. And like you say, if you're just jamming, keyboard. But on the whole, I don't necessarily need to have keyboards. It's just the sounds or the synths that's more important. But I do like this main controller keyboard for tapping in ideas. So yeah, I'm not. I can see Andy with a bank of keyboards down this side, a bank of keyboards down this side, and a bank in front of him playing live. Yeah, me probably just one or two. Lots of outboard equipment, 19-inch rack stuff. More orbital type of look than Andy's full-on Wick Wakeman look.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it though these days. I couldn't.
If you're looking at
the looking around a gear like that, no.
I was going to say, looking at Darren's gear there, most of the synths he's got are fairly easily to manipulate via MIDI. He's got the Raven, he's got the XP50, the AN1X. All of those are completely, fully manipulated via MIDI and RPMs and things like that. The only one that's probably not so fully manipulated by MIDI is obviously the Juno 6. But you can get rack-mounted, like 19-inch rack-mounted versions, the MKS 30, is it? MKS, someone will correct me if I'm right. The Roland, I think it's the MKS 30 with the Juno, pretty much.
Yep.
So you could get away with that in that sense. Obviously, it's a thing of beauty to look at, though, isn't it? So yeah, interesting. All right, we are going to start the main show, and by doing that, we always press this button just to celebrate it. And yet we've reached the main show. I'm going to put myself back in the corner here. We are going to get through quite a lot of stuff today. I do believe Andy, Synth Addict, is going to be joining us, hopefully, if he hasn't slept through it. It's pretty early in the morning over here in the west coast of the US, so we could forgive him if he did that. But anyway, this particular week, like I said earlier at the start of the early show, we have got a full show worth of all the segments, so we're not skimping this week. We've got lots of news, we've got lots of price watch, we've got to name that synth, we've got a fair bit of news to get through. So why don't we get started by first just catching up, because it's probably about twice as many people in chat as there were about an hour ago. So I just wanted to quickly say to everyone who's in chat, even if you aren't in chat and you actually are watching the show, you're lurking by, please jump into chat and say hi if you're new. And we don't bite. Just tell us where you're from and you know what you're sort of interested in synths, and before you know it, you'll be part of the clan here. So big hello to everyone who's in chat. Now I did go through most of those people earlier, so we'll go through and say things to people sort of during the show. But without further ado, I do want to go to Darren for a sec and say hello to you, Darren, and ask you how your week's been. But also, Darren, massive plug for your YouTube channel. Now I don't want to steal any sort of, what do you call it, traffic away. I just want to kind of tell people, head on over to Darren's YouTube channel because he's launched a massive video. Do you want to just give it a bit of a plug, Darren?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't. I've been seeing people in there. I have nothing to do with this video.
Oh.
Absolutely nothing to do with it. I didn't even know it was happening because I always put mine out on a Sunday, as you know.
Yeah.
So,
I
Dave's
been at it.
I haven't even seen it myself, so I don't know. So
right.
Yeah, that's not to say to it. The week's been fine, good,
yeah,
just normal. Very busy. It's cooled down now, thank God. But yeah, it's only when people start putting up in the chat that something's gone on, and I have nothing to do with this. So I wondered why he buggered off in the car.
Yeah. Look,
he just slammed the door on me and went, "That's it, I'm out of here." Because I said, "What? Why?" And that was it. So I have not a clue.
Yeah. Well, look,
I'll see him later.
If you guys want the link, I have put the link in chat. So it only goes for about a minute or so. So you could go and have a little sneaky watch of that anyway. But yeah, and other than that, have you got a track coming out tomorrow, per usual, or?
No, I haven't because I've been really working hard just to finish this secret track off with Rave for the album. So I've just not had time to put a track together, or believe it or not, flipping Someone's Gone to Number One, Kate Bush, and I had a remix of that done, so that won't be going out neither. So no. Yeah, I've been working hard, so I have not had a chance to put one on. I was going to do a video for it. It's a year old. It's a year old now, the track, and I thought, yeah. And I was going to do a video for it, and then lo and behold, stranger things happened, and boom. Everyone's doing it.
You're just maybe jumping on the bandwagon. Never mind. Yeah,
I absolutely love that song.
With it as well.
I tell you what, I absolutely love that song, and what they're doing to that song at the moment by having it on just about every single freaking TikTok video that you watch, it's like, stop. Please just stop doing that. You're killing that song. You need to play that song from start to finish and not talk over the top of it because you've got some stupid
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever that you want to talk about, please stop doing that. Just give that song its own space.
Like my version, it's completely different. But like I said, I've written it a year ago, hoping to do a video for it, and then now it's just literally obliterated. So, yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'm going to have a word with Ray when I see him.
Maybe still do it anyway, because you never know, that might actually give it some good energy that it needed. Do you know what I mean? It might be worth.
Yeah, well, it's definitely an energy track.
See it through.
You know,
I'd like to hear it. You know, if I'm the only listener, that's okay.
A bit.
No, I'm sure Brooksy will listen to it as well. Speaking of Brooksy, big hello to you, mate. How's your week been? Sounding a bit better. Good. Getting a bit weller.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I am. I'm still actually pretty wobbly right now. Just lacking energy. Just if I do anything, I just end up having to go and have a sit down. It's not been great. I mean, honestly, I know I said last week, I feel like I've been steamrolled. I haven't been at work this week. I was signed off by the doctor. I'm very my hands are just I've just got delirium tremens, unfortunately. So yeah, I just get very weary doing stuff. I mean, well, we'll see how it all pans out.
Well, that's no good, mate. We hope that you get better.
I've given me a chance to be in here and do a bit of playing about, and just not done anything majorly constructive, just messed about. But that's nice. So.
It's not the long COVID, is it? That dreaded long COVID thing.
Illness. That's yeah. She just said it's my. Well, yeah.
Could be
that. Well, obviously, the problem was I basically had an asthma attack, basically, quite a severe asthma attack, and that can sometimes have an effect later on. You get over the asthma, and then some. Well, they did do sort of various sort of tests. When I told them, because they knew anyway that I'd had COVID in December, and it was like, has this made things worse? They wanted to have a good look at how COVID had impacted my respiratory tract and my immune system, and so they're doing all of these tests for all of that and scans and stuff. Just, I mean, it seems like it's not done any lasting damage. There's no sort of scarring or anything like that. But I'd certainly not suffered from what other people have been talking of as long COVID. That's not, because I had it and I've been back, and this is just post the asthma attack and the sort of recovery or convalescence or something. Because it does when you have a bad one, it does actually hammer your system.
Yeah,
it's a trauma, but it's hard to explain sometimes to people. It's hard sometimes.
I've had it since a kid.
People when they say, well, you're back to normal, aren't you? Well, actually, yeah, I am. My breathing's great. My breathing's fine right now, but am I back to normal? No, I'm definitely not. So I mean, I was supposed to be playing at the Leeds EMOM last night. I mean, Jim Glue and Jamie Morden went to that. I was supposed to be playing. I'd got a slot on the bill, but I just had to pull out. There's no way I had the energy to actually to do that. Looking things around and driving. So I think at the end of the day, common sense. I'd love to have done it. I really would, but I had to be sort of grown up about it. I'm signed off work. I can't go running off doing gigs and things. That's silly. And I wouldn't have been able to do it. I'd have been doing myself no favors doing that last night, even though I would have loved to have done it. I hope it went well for Jim. He says it did, and I hope Jamie had a good one too. I think there'll be some videos up of that at some point. So,
that's good.
Anyway, thanks for putting up with me whinging about my tales of woe and all that.
Let us get it off your chest, mate, so to speak. I used to get, when I was living in a different city, I used to get really bad hay fever, which is apparently related to asthma. And if you get a really bad case of hay fever, you basically end up like as if you've had a cold or a flu, because it just affects all your respiratory, stuff. And sometimes it would take me 3 or 4 days as a young kid to completely sort of get over all the after effects of hay fever. So thankfully where I live here, I don't get hay fever here as much because where I live it's quite coastal and we get the
the breeze clear it away.
Yeah, it sort of blows inland as opposed to somewhere else. So it's a really lucky place for me to live, and that's probably why I haven't moved. Now Andy's here, Synth Addict. Big hello to you.
Hello. Hey, sorry for the late start. It was this maintenance weekend this weekend, working all weekend. Also had to work late last night till after midnight on some stuff with meetings and my boss in Germany and all that good stuff. So needless to say, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep. So here I am.
Fantastic. And how's your week?
I did squeeze in a little time before bed with my new toy. I got a really good deal on a Machina Plus.
Oh, nice.
Which, I'm trying desperately to learn well enough for the hardware jam this weekend. We'll see what happens. So,
yeah, that's a completely different workflow to MPC or Force or anything.
It is, but man, is it so cool. It does a lot of stuff. I love my Force, but this thing right now just captures my imagination. So,
yeah. Look, some people really, really gel with the machine workflow. They really rate it.
I always love the NI plugins. I've been using the plugins longer than I've had most of my synths. And so I'm already used to, I love Massive and FM7, FM8. And I mean, it even has, Reactor plugin stuff in there. And it does a lot of stuff. It's really cool. Monarch's like a mini Moog type module. Yep. And so there's just a lot of stuff. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And the live sampling thing is great too. If you watch Red Means Recordings videos on it, where you just use it to just capture stuff in your studio with the live sampler mode, it auto samples like Sample Robot does and all that. And so you can just sample a bunch of crap and take it with you. And I have a battery pack for this, so it's totally mobile. Just need a little keyboard controller and throw it in a bag and off I go. It came with a deck saver. So it's really cool.
Yeah, nice. Does it have CV connectivity on the back?
That's the one thing it's missing.
Yeah.
But MIDI to CV, I have a bunch of those converters. So
MIDI CV, no problem. Get yourself an expert sleeper module, and it's.
I have a Mutant Brain. I have
Mutant Brain.
Mutable one, Yarns. I have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And
also the Arturia stuff too. The Key Step and Beat Step all have the CV on it. So
nice. Nice. Right. Well, now that we've said hello to everyone, including the chatties, why don't we attempt to have a laugh? And I forgot to refresh this. Why did I do that? There we go. Starting off with this one. Yes, there's a lot of price watchy stuff this week. So we'll start with this one. No lowball offers. I know what I have. Yeah, when you're watching those Facebook marketplace listings or Craigslist or anything like that, beware of what you buy. Jeez, not bad, eh? I wonder how much they got for it in the end. Dearie me. Right, next one. Now, I kind of feel like I need to explain these next couple of memes that are coming up. Have you guys heard of this new AI modeling thing called DALL-E or DALL-E? I don't know how you pronounce it. DALL-E, I think it is. It's basically an artificial intelligent image rendering software that's hitting the internet by storm. And so if you go to this website called DALL-E Mini, you can actually type anything you like in that little sort of search box there and click run. And after about 2 minutes, it generates 9 pictures for you. And it's insane. I've had a crack at doing this with my daughter. We're having some fun. But this guy thought he would do a 24-hour doorless jam and see if DALL-E could come up with a result. Unfortunately, just like doing a 24-hour doorless jam, you aren't going to get any results on that. So even the artificial intelligence was smart enough to know what you're up to. Speaking of which, you can do anything in this thing. You can do Darth Vader playing synthesizers by Van Gogh. And these are all the results. It's crazy. You can do this one, Roland McDonald. This is amazing.
They're quite scary.
It is very scary. Speaking of scary, what about this one? This one was Aphex Twin at a children's birthday party. Oh, my dearie me's. Right, so favourite meme of the week, people. I know there's a lot of DAL-E stuff, but was the focus right or the DAL-E's, basically?
Well, I think I have a certain amount of empathy for the Focusrite one, because I'm sure that my room must have looked like that at one time in the past.
Gee, that's giving some stuff away. Aphex Twin, yeah, that one's there. That one's pretty good. RDJ at the birthday party, exactly. Focusrite says Crest Head. Yeah, what about you guys? Darren? Focusrite
I was
or...
probably going to go with the Focusrite or probably Aphex Twin.
Yeah. I didn't
The
mind
cigarette butt one is good.
I didn't mind the Roland.
Well, really spooky.
Where do they think of this stuff? Anyway,
It could be valuable if it's famous cigarette butts. If it's a famous person.
I need to give Facebook group Synth Memes a plug, because some of those came from there, and it's some creative guys getting in there. And we all know Alex Ball. He's been putting a heap up, and they're quite funny because they're sort of retro-based stuff. Anyway, speaking of retro-based stuff, why don't we hit this button? It's news. Yes, now that's not what we want, and we don't want that either. Geez, that's completely failed. Why has that failed?
Look, it's tradition, Ranz.
It is.
It's just upholding the grand traditions of this particular stream, which we've all come to know and love. Why is this?
It means you won't be replaced by AI. It's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, there we go. Sorry, I had to do some refreshing. I'm actually really amazed that the memes worked. Look at that. Moog Mavis. By the way, if you're ever wondering how to spell Moog or Moog, you must make sure you put the correct O before the other O, because if you get the O's around the wrong way, it won't sound correct. Anyway, enough of my stupid jokes. So we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Why don't we have a little chat about this? There's been a million gazillion videos on this during the week, and I don't really want to put too much more airplay on this other than our thoughts. And I think that's probably what a lot of people want to hear is, what do we think of this? Are we going to be getting one of these? I can tell you right now, Moog didn't offer me a free one like all the other YouTubers, so if I ever do get one, I'll have to pay for it just like everyone else, and so I should. I'm not entitled or anything. And I was having a bit of a joke about that on social media, so if anyone does see that, it was completely tongue-in-cheek. Okay, so for me, I've got a couple of thoughts, and I'll go to you guys in a sec. I don't like those tiny little knobs. Sorry, Moog. I can't stand them. I know it was kind of a nod towards the Workstat. I never really liked them on the work. A lot of people took the knobs off the Workstat and replaced them anyway. There's plenty of room on there for bigger knobs. And there was also questions about whether you needed the keyboard thing on there or not. Some people liked it, by the way, so I'm not going to diss it. I'm just saying there was a choice. You could have gone with bigger knobs, more sort of space around that. That probably would have been the way I would have gone. The other question I've got is, and this is more a question as opposed to, is it a criticism of this? It's got a mixing section in it. So you've got two line ins, and they kind of work. One is kind of -5 volts, the other one is through. I can't see where, and correct me if I'm wrong, I can't see where you can actually put another source of sound through the filter on this. Okay. I know that we were talking about, Brooksy, we were talking about Alex's video, Mila Melodies, and he was doing some tricky stuff with it. I had good look at what he did with that. And I'm telling, from what I can work out, he brought the output of this and put it into his DFAM. And that's how he got some of it to sort of work magic. So there was quite some convoluted patching he was doing with that. But hey, I could be wrong. Does anyone know if this has got the ability to put external sound in and use the filter on this? Because that would be a huge plus for this thing. And if it would be, I guess you're doing it through the mixer. So someone can tell me in the chat or whatever, if that's the case. Other than that, I'm really, really impressed with this thing. I'm impressed with the mod matrix on this. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated, this mod matrix. I actually feel the features that they bring you on this mod matrix are actually very, very clever. Like there's 2 malts, they're buffered malts. There's, I believe, there's decent sample and hold and a whole bunch of stuff that a lot of Moog synths don't have by default. And when you think about it, yes, they don't have knobs for these things, but you just patch it in and all of a sudden you've got sample and hold. You've got, you know, lots of other sort of cool things like pulse width modulation and things like that. All right, enough of me crapping on. Gentlemen, let's have your thoughts. Who wants to go first? Talk about this Moog Mavis. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it?
I'm pretty with you, Rans. I like it. Oh, sorry. I'm pretty with Rans.
No,
the only thing is, like you say, why didn't they put some better knobs on? I like the sound, and I think it'd go well with my DFAM. And why didn't they make it about the size of the DFAM? I think it's more like keeping the cost down because it's nowhere near as expensive. I think it's half the price of a DFAM. So, yeah, I sort of understand that. And if you've not got anything similar to this, like any Behringer stuff, then yeah, I think it's quite good. I quite like it, and it would sit quite nicely there. But I'm just a little bit like you. Why the little knobs? Because I'm not a fan of them. I'd rather have reasonable sized knobs, and it'd look. I think someone said in the chat it looks a bit prototypery, if that's a word. And it sort of does so. But yeah, I like it. I think it sounds it's Moog. It's it sounds great, but I'm just not a fan of the little tiny knobs. I suppose you could. I'd get over that. So yeah, and with it being half the price of a DFAM or a Model 32, yeah, I quite like it. I think it's a decent thing. Might even save up my pennies if I can. Not at this time, the way the world's going at the moment. But yeah, I think it's okay. Left-hand patch bay, yes, I've noticed because the others are right-hand patch bays. At least it'll be easy to patch if you put it on the opposite side. Yeah,
there is definitely a reason for that.
I think that so you can. If you've got a Model 32 or a DFAM there, and you can just simply put it next to it, and the patch bays are
sits next to
each other. I think it makes sense in that sort of context. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, where the patch bay is. Does it really? I don't think it really does. I think that Moog have probably nailed it with this. I think they're going to shift loads of them. I really do. I think that they'll fly off the shelves. Yes, it may well have its limitations. Yes, there may well be things that we wish it had, but that's true of everything. Yes, I know that when you're looking at the price and you're saying, well, it's going to be 350 quid and it's only one oscillator, 2 were to push if you're clever. You have to look at other possibilities. Laurent just mentioned about the getting a neutron instead. And yes, and Darren obviously prefers his knobs to be on the large side. You could probably actually fit larger.
Sonny so Rafe can pull them off.
Yeah, nothing worse than have your knob pulled off by Rave, is there? This is going downhill fast.
It depends how hard it's pulled off, but.
Andy, stop it, please. This is just we're trying to have a sensible, grown-up conversation here about a very important piece of music technology. And
just blame Wagoo. It's Wagoo's fault. He started it.
It's just Wagoo's fault.
Started it.
You're a disruptive influence, Wagoo. Stop it.
I mean, it's nice to have new stuff coming out with new features. I already have plenty of stuff with wave folding, and I already have the Werkstat Mark 1 and the mini Tower of Doom with the 3 modules, and I have tons of other Moog stuff. So I love the Moog sound. I'm not going to say it's crap, even if it's built poorly, because it will sound great. The knob thing you can easily handle. Like Thonk sells those little add-on slide over caps for mini modular tiny knobs with different colors and stuff, so you can customize it and bling it out if you want. But so I mean, it's cool they're continuing to make small stuff for people who want to slowly gather Moog collections and put the things together in different ways. But it looks just like, in my quick assessment of it, Werkstatt Mark II +1 or something like that. It has a couple extra features in it. It sounds good. I barely heard the demos. I got to watch Alex's demo because he always has amazing demos. But
that's the best one,
my melodies.
But it's a metal case, right? And it's got little knobs and it's patch bay, so it's it's not really bringing much new to the scene. But and perhaps they've also put the stuff on the left side so it looks different than something else, so you don't confuse it with the Werkstatt. So,
that could be true. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna knock anything Moog just because I love the Moog sound. But at some point, a lot of Moog stuff does sound the same because you keep using the same ladder filter over and over again. So that's why I only have so much Moog stuff, because I don't need to repeat it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
If I found a really cheap one, I might pick one up, but I'm not going to just go out and get one.
So speaking of cheap, it's not that cheap. It's $349 US. So I mean, I guess that's the MSRP. So it'll probably be a little bit cheaper after it sort of makes its way into some sort of discounting regime. But for now, it's $349. You can't get them in some countries. So, for example, if you live in Australia, they're not here yet, but they are in other places. So if you live in the US, you can get them from Sweetwater right now. They've got them in stock. And I think the UK may not have them quite just yet, but I think it's only a few days away, apparently. So it might be like next week when you're getting...
See, that's my sticky point, you see, because I was thinking of always a Dreadbox Typhoon, which is a slightly cheaper than this. So, and I like Dreadbox stuff, so...
And more highly featured in many ways, but you can't put the Typhoon in a Euro rack. That may not be of any importance to you, but...
I kind of feel like we need
because I've not been playing with my Modular.
I kind of feel like we need to talk about this knob thing a little bit because I kind of feel that it may sound like a bit of lip service to some people, but I just want to show you, like, Eurorack is full of these knobs, right? So it's not a criticism necessarily. If you look at, there's a whole bunch of stuff in Eurorack that's got that size knobs. Like, for example, these knobs here are about the same size as a Volca knob, you can see. But if you look at some of the Eurorack stuff that people have developed, they don't put sort of main, sort of usable functional knobs like that on gear because that is something that you're going to be using a lot. So if you look at, like the mixer here, right, you can see the most used knob is this one here, which is the volume, or the level, right? And the least used knobs are they're actually bigger than Volcas, these ones, but they're still smaller. These are things like, these are setting knobs. So you set these things, you're not working with these things. So I kind of feel that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sort of user interface design issues when you're talking about sort of knobs. And like you said, Andy, you can get those things that will slide over the top because I think they're exactly the same as the Werkstatt ones anyway.
Interesting enough, Cresshead has actually done that with his, now get the right thing, T6, is that what it's called? That new little Roland, the Roland Volca thing with the TR-808, 909 drum sounds and the 303 section. What's it called? The new one that they just brought out. No, just T. Is it called T6?
Oh yes,
T8.
Sorry, tiny little thing. No,
T8. Yeah, T8. Where he's replaced the knobs with those thonk ones, all different colours. It looks ace actually. He used it on a little jam she put up looks really good, and I suppose that it makes it probably easier just to actually play, because that's a small thing. But yeah, I don't know why they've done it. I think we're all agreed that those knobs on the on Mavis's knobs should be bigger. Mavis needs bigger knobs.
I'll repeat a lame
knobs.
joke I used on another show. Mavis Beacon teaches Moog.
Right.
That's for the old people who are into software from long ago. So.
All right. So we talked about this before, briefly. So this is the alternative to Mavis, right? So this is bigger. This is quite a lot bigger. This does fit into your rack, but this is cheaper. Not by much though. So about $20 cheaper. So $329 for one of these. This has got an extra oscillator, and it's also the same circuitry layer. It's actually really, really good sounding, and it's not a Moog, it's a Behringer. So some people, that's going to piss them off because it wasn't built in with alpacas in a farm. No, just kidding. So basically, there's your if you're after the Moog sound, I think there's a gazillion options out there for you to get that. I think if you're buying a Mavis just to get a Moog sound, I don't know if that would be kind of the economical choice I would be going with. That's kind of what I'm saying. What do you guys think?
Also, regarding Moog, not Moog, knob caps, even on my OP1, which has perfectly decent sized knobs, I did the retrofit some guys found where they took little tires from the Lego building set and they slide right over the OP1 thing to give you friction and also a bigger knob to control details. Yep. So you can slide it on the side of the knob as well as grab it and have more control over it.
Yeah. I kind of feel that usability is kind of what that's what I didn't like about the Workstat anyway. So yeah. Anyway, that's enough about Mavis. In terms of if you're actually watching the show and you're thinking to yourself, I want to hear it, what it sounds like. Sorry, I'm not going to be playing videos on the Mavis. I think there's plenty in YouTube right now that's like literally chuffed with videos on this thing. So do go check them out yourself and enjoy them. If you do want one that we were talking about recently, Brooksy, if you have a sec, do you want to see if you can dig up the link to the Mile of Melodies one and paste it into the chat? I think that'd be really handy if you could do that, or someone who's a moderator in the chat.
Yeah, give us a sec. We'll do that.
Beautiful, good man. Right, moving on to the next thing is this wonderful bit of news here. Okay, so this is a new plugin type of thing that will compete with audio units and VSTs. That's what this is. It's an open source format and it's called CLAP, or Clever Audio Plugin, and it's an API. And I do have some sort of video that I can play on this. I don't know if I'm going to get a copyright strike. That's the only thing. Where are we? It would be number 2. Let's see if this comes up. Just got to wait for the stupid YouTube ads. Sorry. And then we get that. And then we get this. And let's have a little quick look at this. So this is a collaboration between the guys from Bitwig and Yuhi. Okay. So this is like a new sort of audio plugin. Let me just pause that video so it's not playing in the background, chewing up internet. I'm going to bring up there's a GitHub site on this thing. So I'll bring that up in a sec. We can sort of check it out while we talk about it. Who has had a chance to look at this stuff? Anyone? No one? Nope. Nope. Okay. All right. Let's bring up the Bitwig site. I think if I need to get.
I did have a quick glance of it, yes, but like I say, this is it's not. This is going to be good, we're gonna have to see how it takes off.
Yeah. Okay,
Oops, there we go. Just correcting my brightness.
Good. All right, now which button is it to go to this? Sorry, excuse me. This is the GitHub part of it, so you can access, the file format. If you're into sort of developing your own software, you can go in and check all this out. But you can also just download it. Download the zip file here. It's free. It's like I said before, it stands for Clever Audio Plugin. It's an audio plugin API. It should be. I don't know if ABI. Does anyone know what ABI means? Maybe that's a typo, or if that's actually a real acronym. Usually they get those things right. Basically, the whole point of it is that you're not locked into some sort of licensing dilemma, which is kind of one of the problems with VSTs, right? Who owns the VST license? Is it Steinberg at the moment? They own the VST rights or something?
They used to. Do they still? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they created it.
Not 100% sure.
Yeah. So I do believe there might be some sort of governing issue with. I think it's pretty free to do though. But I guess one of the other points of this is they're talking about this not just sort of belonging to the audio music industry. They're also talking about this as a thing for videos and films and quite a lot of other gaming. For example, is another one. So this is kind of in streaming. People, like people who do live streams and stuff like that aren't necessarily into music like we are. So this is kind of far-reaching, and I think it's probably a good idea that we I guess stand up and take notice of it. It might fizzle. I doubt it. I think this has definitely got some legs. Yeah. Any more information about this? There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that you see on this show in the blog article, which I post every week. There's a link to it in the description below. You'll get links to that GitHub page, and any of the videos that I share, any of the pictures that are on the show are also going to be in there. So if you do want to learn more about clap, I don't know if, I think Sonic State said this on their show, I don't know if they've chosen the best name because there's some
another unfortunate acronyms.
Yeah, I think they probably could have come up with something better. I mean, even if you just if you keep this, the dirty, smutty side of it, even naming it after a drum machine sound is also a little bit stupid too, right? But other than that, I think it's definitely got some legs, and we'll move on. Hope it would make compiling for ARM easy. That I don't actually know yet if you can do it on ARM, but anyway, we'll see what happens. What is next? Next is this Wonderland by Frequency Central. I like this thing. This was pretty interesting. So we've shown a couple of matrixy type things for Eurorack recently, and this one really pricked my ears. Whoops, wrong one. Take this out. The reason why it pricked my ears because it is actually really kind of easy to get this thing up and running. You're looking at basically buttons in the middle. Do you know what I mean? Like they're sort of momentary mute buttons. So you're patching, columns to rows, right? But the cool thing about this is you've also got the inverted outputs up the top as well as the normal outputs down the bottom. So this can be a little bit mathematical in its idea. But say, for example, you've got stuff plugged in your rows 1 to 8, and your columns, you've got some of them muted, right? When you invert it, it's the opposite. Do you get it? So if you've got stuff muted, then if you're using the inverted output, it's doing the opposite to what you'd expect. So that gives you some really interesting sort of patching abilities, okay? And the other cool thing about this is obviously this can be a nice big central point for patching as well. Because one of the things that when you start getting into Eurorack, as you guys will know, it's handy to have some sort of way to almost sort of control how you patch stuff. And I don't mean just, grabbing a patch cable and pulling it out and, that sort of stuff. I mean, like being able to sort of modular control your patching. And this thing is only 165 pounds, which is fully built at that price. And you can get it a lot cheaper if you want to build it as a kit. So Frequency Central is where you get that from. What was I going to do? I was going to quickly bring up the page on that too. Any comments? Brooksy, did you have a look at the Wonderland?
Yes, I did. I visit Frequency Central's website fairly frequently. Frequently, and they just put that up on the homepage. Thought, oh, that looks interesting. So I did have a look at it and thought, yes, I mean, like a lot of these things, it takes a while for you to sort of get your head into what it would do for you. And I think as a system becomes more complex with more modulation sources, more modulation sort of destinations and things like that, I do think that something like this would really begin to show its worth. So you might have a couple of envelope generators, a couple of LFOs in there, ring mod in and out, that sort of thing. Just patch there, and you can just go, right, okay, I want this LFO to go to that. It does sort of make sense, but I think you have to have a really clear idea of what you would want it to do in your rack. And at my stage, I'm still not sure that it will actually. I think it will create more problems than it solves initially. But again, it's one of those things I want to have a little look more at.
I mean, aside from the obvious, right? I'll just keep you up there, Brooksy. Aside from the obvious, obviously you can patch one thing and route it to somewhere else. But that means you can patch one thing and route it to 8 things.
Yes.
So that's really kind of the interesting thing here, right? But also it can be audio or control voltage. It's not one or the other, or it's not one way. Yeah. So you can mix a bit of audio. You can mute it. And each of the inputs has. I don't know if you can see on the left-hand side. There's 4 little attenuators up the top, and then another 4 down the bottom. So 1 to 4, and then 5 to 8. So there is an attenuator which you can set, and it is with a small screwdriver. So these are kind of set and forget type things. They're not really meant to be played with. But the other thing about it is they're buffered. So all these connections are all buffered. And I think I looked, I don't know where I saw it. I don't think it's here. It's in the build document. If you go into the build document, this is how I knew it was buffered. Look how simple that is. It's basically just all done on a chip. So that is kind of, where you're getting all the brains from each of those patch points. It's all done through a chip, basically. So I just thought that was kind of ingenious. Speaking of which,
it's in some ways it's a glorified mult, isn't it? In many ways, but yeah, I can understand how useful it would be.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people saw this and thought it's going to be something that they could put, where they're going to have a lot of cables and they just want to kind of really just neaten up their setup, and then that way they've got the routing. So it could be central, it could be to the side of your case or something like that. But anyway, I just thought...
Are they completely momentary, or can you latch them?
No, they're mutes. Okay, so the buttons are... let's go back to it. They did talk about this.
Oh, so they're locking mutes, basically.
Yeah. Where did I read it?
Because if they weren't, it'd be really cool for guys like Aphex Twin or Richard Devine, who do a lot of crazy live performances.
Yeah, so they're push on-off switches. That's what they are. So they're basically connecting, disconnecting in that sense. Yeah. There is. Don't forget, there was that other matrix that we showed a couple of weeks ago that had the momentary
The metal
feature.
contacts.
Yeah. So we could, you could put that in with this. I mean, like, this is a very inexpensive thing to buy. What did I say it was? It was 160.
I saw that at Perfect Circuit last week. They had it in the rack there. It's pretty cool looking.
160 British pounds for the fully assembled one, or you could buy it just with the PCBs and panel for £40. It's so cheap, and then just going, so there's only a small amount of gear that you have to buy for this. Anyway, that is the Wonderland by Frequency Central. So good work by Frequency Central. I reckon, like you said, Brooksy, I think they do some really good stuff. They really do. Okay, we shall go to this. This is, I think, something that we all are dying to talk about because I kind of alluded to it when at the start of the show when I was showing the System 8. and it wasn't on purpose. It was just basically, I was showing the System 8 at the start of the show and I said, hey, look, there's a synth that everyone said that Roland aren't making anything more for it. Well, guess what? Roland have. They've made another plug out for that synth. And it's the Jupiter 4. And this is the one that I said they should have made from the start. In fact, the first boutique they brought was the JP8. They should have made that the JP4. This is a really, really cool synth. Anyway, so without me crapping on about it, I can actually go across to the Mac over here and I've actually downloaded it and installed it. Isn't that cool? Look at that. There it is there, everyone. Yay! So yes, this is like the cloud version, but it does have that plug out button on there. And if I wanted to, I could go and use up one of my plug out spaces on my System 8 and have a Jupiter 4 and I have, there's all sorts of options now. Jupiter 8, Juno 106, JX3P, System 100, SH2, SH101, so many cool Roland. These are ACB modelled, by the way, too. So that ACB is still alive, and I was worried about that, actually. But anyway, so let's have a little listen. Is it working? All right. Now, does everyone remember the, what do you call it? There's a band called Simple Minds, right? And they made this fantastic song called Love Song. Does everyone remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
The start of that song is a Jupiter 4 with an arpeggiator on random. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the same sound because it was definitely some sort of weird, it's on, the arpeggiator's on. I think we've got that set there. I could turn that and latch it, and it was definitely a B, I'm pretty sure. So let's see if we can get something like this. I definitely don't think it's that sound. I'll just try a different bass sound. It's probably not that sound either. I'm going to have to turn all the effects off to get anything near this. Bass pulse, it could be a pulsing sort of, yeah, it's probably less filtery sounding than that. Anyway, let's see if we can get this sound relatively close to it anyway. And we certainly don't want portamento. I don't even know where you can find portamento on this. Anyway, let's turn off the effects, turn them all off. It's definitely on random, isn't it? Yep. Okay, and we probably want to put a bit of high pass into that. And I think it's probably got it down in octaves on that. Maybe not that far down. Try this one. There we go, turn portamento off. Definitely had a delay on it, but I'm going to turn this delay off. Take the resonance off. There we go. So you can just imagine that. That's the start sound of that song, and then they obviously had the bass guitar come into it and the drums, and then Charlie's coming in with his crazy sounding guitar, and it literally just was a random arpeggiator mode on a Jupiter 4. And I just think, how cool is it now that we can just sit on our computers and do Love Song? Well, there's nothing like it, by the way, but you're playing around with the filter and all that sort of stuff, you'll get there pretty close. I actually had it running before, and for some reason the VST crashed on me and I had to restart it and I lost everything, but it's all right. Right, so what's so good about the Jupiter 4, people? Anyone want to have any memories of the Jupiter 4? What do you guys think of that sound? Are you guys hearing that, aren't you, for a start?
Yep.
Is that sounding like a Jupiter 4? See if we can get this thing to sound.
I've never seen a Jupiter 4 in person.
No, I mean, neither on it.
What song have you guys remembered that has the Jupiter 4 in it that you guys know of?
Well, it's on loads of records and things which I've got. I mean, early Human League, Jupiter 4's in there, and early Depeche Mode, because Vince used to grumble that, you know, the other guys had got little mono synth and he had to turn up to his gigs with his bloody great big Jupiter 4. That's what he was using. So it's all over the early Depeche Mode stuff. But yeah, I've never played one. I've never played one, so I don't really. A lot of people seem to go very, you know, gooey gaga about it. I don't know much about it personally.
It's basically a Poly Pro Mars, right?
It's a Poly Pro Mars. It's a four-voice version of the Pro Mars. I think what a lot of people were gooey about was the user interface on it was kind of pretty easy to work out. I mean, it's very Moogish in that sense. You know, VCO, VCF, VCO, that sort of thing. But it had patch storage, which was a huge thing for its day. We take all this stuff for granted now. It has your patch, your coloured patch buttons along the front of it. So it was a little bit Korg 700 in a way. Do you know what I mean? How it had the buttons along the front. You know, if we go back to that picture that I had here, and I turn off this is actually a real Jupiter 4 picture. Yeah. So you can see that's there your buttons. It's very Korg 700 looking, isn't it? In that sense, how it's got the controls across the front, and then your keyboard up the top. What a lot of those things were kind of. I'm not sure if they meant that you're popping it on top of something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would they put buttons there?
They were seen to do that. Stick it on top of your Fender Rhodes or some kind of organ, which has got a big flat surface on the top, and you plonk that on it, and then they're at sort of like hand level, so you could just hit them. That was the thinking on all of those synths, which have got the pianos, the buttons and controls. Yeah. Underneath the keyboard. It might seem like a strange way of doing it, but actually it makes sense when you put it up above something else.
So if you go back to that VST, you can see in here, like, you don't get any of these effects. So just when you get to this, a lot of the factory effects that they've got in here, just turn all the effects off, the presets, and then, you know, you'll be able to hear whether this sounds like the real thing or not.
The cloud's a subscription thing, isn't it, as well?
It is, but if you've got a cloud subscription, you can then plug that out to if you've got a System 8, you can plug this out to your System 8, and now you've got basically the Jupiter 4 sitting on your System 8, and the way I understand it, that it will sit there forever until you decide to pull it off again. And you may decide to disconnect your cloud, you know, membership at some point, but it will still be sitting on your System 8. So in that sense, I believe that's how it works. And I don't think there's any way the System 8 can be connected to the internet unless you plug it in USB or something like that. So that's a cool thing. Let's see what the chatties are saying about the Jupiter 4. Tell me if I'm wrong, it's definitely ACB. And if it's plug out, a lot of people have this reminiscence about the Jupiter series, right? So Jupiter 4, Jupiter 6, Jupiter 8, and they're all slightly different to each other. If you go into the electronics, they had different chips for filters and all sorts of stuff that makes it sound different. So Adamski's saying the JP4 had something odd about the oscillator wave shapes from what I learned. Can anyone confirm? So the oscillators, you probably need to check some sort of, oscilloscope stuff on it. But if you actually look at the VST version anyway, we'll show you. You've got your waveform selector. So it does the normal sawtooth and square, and you've got a pulse width, and then you've got a sawtooth and pulse width combined type waveform on the right-hand side. And that can be adjusted somehow. It's kind of weird, right? So it's so that's probably what you're talking about. I don't think you can plug this out to a System 1, but I'm going to try because I've got a System 1. So I'm not going to try it today on the show, but because I don't have it connected up, as in USB wise, but I definitely am going to try and see if you can plug it out to a System 1. That would be amazing if you could, because the System 1 is 4-voice in its native form. I just don't know if it has the grunt to run this plug out. Who here likes the Roland Cloud stuff? Anyone got am I the only one out of this group of 4 of us that have got Roland Cloud?
The plug out part of it, yeah.
I've never used it.
That's the plug out part. Yeah. Have you still got your System 1M, Andy? Have you had a System 1?
I had the keyboard with all the plug outs.
All right. Did you get rid of it?
No, I still have it because I have all the plug outs. I have the Pro Mars, the SH2, System 100, blah, blah, blah. So.
Okay. So, did anyone confirm in chat whether you can or not?
Terrible keybed. That's the thing I hate about it. It's just a toy keybed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, toy keybed.
I had to take it apart because it was misfiring, and I found out how cheap it really is when I took it apart.
It's really cheap.
It's no better than those like $30 kids toy keyboards.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's really awful.
It's a toy shop keyboard. Yeah. I got a feeling we might be able to do it. I don't know. We need to try. I'll let you guys know during the week anyway if I have any success with it. If smoke comes out of the back of the System 1 when I'm doing it. But anyway, I just think like sometimes Roland do some good things. And okay, yes, I know they're going down this kind of software path now with all their stuff. It just seems to be what they're doing. But sometimes that can be a benefit. Do you remember how we were saying at the start of the show, the System 8 is your keyboard, then your System 1 was kind of your desktop, and the System 1M was your modular, right? So if you look at that as a little series that Roland brought out, that was actually quite clever. And then the fact that it had the plug out thing on it just made it so interesting. Like I don't really know at the time of any other synth companies that were doing that, where you literally changed the way that synth behaved completely by this, it's almost like you're loading a firmware onto the synth and it's completely changing it. So it was pretty clever. And then we kind of didn't hear anything about plug outs. The last one that came out was, I think it was the JX3P. And that was a while ago now, probably before COVID, so maybe 2019. I think that was the last time we heard from them about plug outs. So, and I think a lot of people were thinking...
I mean, you had Muse Receptor and Nico stuff, but that's really running a computer, so...
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, look, if you never ever had played a Jupiter 4 before, you're going to get pretty close to playing it by that VST. I mean, okay, yeah, it's a VST, but it's if you use MIDI mapping, you can map those sliders to some sliders on a control synth. You've got yourself a Jupiter 4, pretty much. It sounds really, really good. like I said, turn all those effects off and start playing without any effects on it. It's actually really, really cool. So if you've already got a Roland Cloud subscription, that's free. If you don't, I don't know what you need to get it. Is it the basic subscription get it to you? I'm not sure. I can't remember how it works.
And people are commenting on lifetime keys. Do you know if it just sits on your computer and you could use it? Do you have to use it through cloud, or can it be loaded through any kind of SysX thing?
So, are we talking about the plug out part of it, or are we talking about just the
the plug outs that are separate? Yeah.
Okay. So
on my System 1, I had the plug outs just loaded off your Ableton Live or whatever you have loaded as a conduit. But with
you do
the cloud,
it through
and these persistent keys, do you have to use the cloud? If the cloud disappears, your persistent keys are screwed, right? So
I think you would probably have to have the basic subscription to the cloud so that you can use the plug out feature, and that would be my understanding if you were to continue down that path. But there's going to be a point in time where Roland are going to drop that, because they drop everything.
Exactly.
You know, this whole cloud thing will be an old thing in the future, and no one will want it anymore. And when that happens, there's going to be people that are going to need to work out how to hack that so that you can still use those.
What are you doing?
Exactly. It ain't a lifetime. I'm telling you, it's not a lifetime. So yeah, beware of those sort of terminologies. I think they can really get people undone with.
Or they send out a hitman, so it's no longer your lifetime, right? So.
You can on the on the Roland Cloud, you can use the System 1, and if you've got a System 1 synth, you get the System 1 plugin for your DAW, and then that has the plug out button on it, just like you saw here. So there's the plug out button. If I plugged my System 8 in, I could click on that, and it obviously is looking for a System 8. By the way, everything that I see, it says System 8, right? So I doubt very much it's going to be System 1. So there you go. That's how that works. It literally just goes into... And when you're plugging out too onto your hardware, if you've got a System 8, remember you've only got 3 spots. So generally speaking, you'd probably want to overwrite your 3rd spot, because most people would keep the... You don't have to, but most people would keep the Jupiter and the Juno in the first 2 because it's already got little labels on those. I don't know. That's just me. And you use I use the 3rd one as the whatever I feel like it at the time. At the moment, I've got JX3P on my 3rd slot. So yeah, that's basically that.
I use the monos on my System 1 and the polys on my System 8.
Yeah, I'm the same. So my System 1, I was showing it before, has the SH101 overlay on it, the red overlay on it, and it's basically an SH101 in plug out mode. It behaves like an SH101, sounds like an SH101. There's nothing really, bad about it at all.
The only weird one is the System 100. You still need the damn VST to do all the plugs and extra knobs and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, but that was fun. Though I actually thought that was fun.
It is fun, yeah.
Yeah. So you could sit there with, your laptop and then your system.
It's like the Nord Modular.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Chris had saying that the JX3P will stay on, and the 106 can get lost. I didn't exactly say that, but you guys can see what he said in there. Yeah, a lot of people didn't enjoy the System 1. I actually really like the sound of it. So in terms of the user interface, forget about the keyboard. If you literally got a hacksaw out and chopped the keyboard off, I don't think anyone would be shedding any sort of tears. But like I said, the 1M would be cool, but they lost the scatter feature on it, which I thought, wow, why would you lose that?
And they sold those modules for it, right, to replace those.
But no one bought them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now everyone wants one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it really shined when they add the cowbell oscillator, right? So.
It did. That broke the internet. So I don't know what was more popular. Was it D-beam or cowbell oscillators?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a nice, interesting meme during the week where someone manipulated a Volca FM with D-beam instead of knobs and said, only if that caught on. I'll have to find out to show you guys. That's quite funny. Okay, so we're at the end of news. I'm pretty sure that was it, wasn't it? Yep. I think so. Yep. Beautiful. End of news. Fantastic. How about we do this? Haven't done this for a couple of weeks. Oh, we're going to have fun with this week. We are going to have lots of fun. What about this? Now, for those who have been following me, you'll know that this is all my doing. So there's a store in Australia called Store DJ. They're like Gear for Music in a way in the UK. This is a TD3. And you can, as you know, you can get all different colours of TD3s. But not only can you get different colours of TD3s, you can also get different prices. They sound the bloody same. The only difference will be that second one on the top row on the left is the modular modded version. But I put that in there just to show you how stupid this is, right? What's the cheapest TD3 there? That's the 149. The blue one? Yeah. So the cheapest is the 149. So that modded version is over twice the price, which is I just think that's insane. Like it's not like it's got 2 or 3 times the amount of sound, or it's just modded. It's only got a few extra connections and knobs and stuff on it. I don't know.
I got my yellow TD3 at Sweetwater. It was one of the cheaper ones. The cheapest is actually the purple and the green.
Why is that? Why is it more expensive? It should all be the same price.
I think popularity. People love the smiley face one because of the acid connection,
and because the smiley face
they charge
isn't the
a little bit
Behringer
more
logo
for it, but not the bottom price.
Yeah. There's no Behringer logo on the yellow one. But anyway, if you guys don't believe me, here is the Store DJ website right now with all those crazy prices on it. Yes, at the moment they're going through what they call an end of financial year sale, so that's why you see some things with the sale ribbon across the corner. But really, at the end of the day, it makes it's bizarre because some things are like $14 off, some things are $20 off, some things are $10 off. It's really, really weird. It's really weird. Like it's a real scratch your head moment. That one. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Welcome to Australia, where we have no idea what we're doing. Right, next is the Octave Plateau Voyetra 8. Yes. Yes. So you're looking at £27,000 for this. It has been discounted by 20%, so quickly rush out and buy it. We've shown the Voyetra before. It's a beautiful synth, isn't it? Yeah.
It's used a lot by Suzanne Ciani.
Yeah. But if you don't believe me, if you think this stuff is all scams...
New Order.
Yes, New Order. There it is there, live on Reverb. If you don't believe me, let's check it out. We can have a look at every single angle known to mankind. Decent flight case on this. Look at that wonderful nicotine... discoloured buttons. Dear. Maybe not. Here's the back of it. Look at all those outputs and the MIDI and everything. Isn't that a thing of beauty? So yes, Voyetra 8 rush out 57,000. I don't know if it's worth that much. Do you guys?
No, they're rare. There's not a whole lot of them in the world, but cool. It's an awful lot of money for a 19-inch rack mounting unit, wags.
it's half a house, isn't it?
Oh dear.
Half a house for a synth. It's getting stupid, isn't it? The Black Lodge in Washington, in the United States of America. Brad Holland from Isla Instruments. If you want to buy a synth off Brad, off his new website called Gear Trader, he's actually selling the Oberheim 8 voice. We did actually show this briefly last week, so I thought I'd sort of show you guys in a bit more detail. Now, it's currently not working. So $55,000 US dollars for something that's currently not working. I don't know. Is it worth that?
And how long would it take?
Yes, give it to Kent.
Yeah, give it to Kent. He'll get it going. It might take him a while though. Cool. He managed to get that. Did he do Dave Spears? Might have done. Ah, well.
You did Dave's, yeah. Pretty sure.
It's a lovely thing. I mean, Dave brought his 8 voice to Synthfest a couple of years ago. A real thing of beauty. Just it's a behemoth of a thing. I mean, the thing is, just around the corner was the Colossus, but even so, that it is blooming massive. But it just looks fantastic, doesn't it? Amazing thing. But yeah, it's a big ask, in it, 55,000 quid.
When you think about the fact,
lovely.
when you think about the fact that you're paying $55,000 US dollars for something that doesn't work, and then on top of that, I don't want to detract anything from Kent and how he makes money and everything, but you're going to need to spend a fairly decent amount of money to fix this, depending on obviously how badly it needs a repair. So, yeah.
No,
I think it's,
and depending on what parts it needs, certain models are really hard to get parts for. So
yeah. But you know, I'm sure Brad knows what he's doing anyway. So big shout out to Brad, by the way. Okay, Roland R8 Mark II.
Oh no, sod off. That is ridiculous. Even in Australian dollars, that's silly.
So £3,000, eh?
It wasn't. It was a nice drum machine when it came out, but it's certainly not a classic. It's not 808 909. It really isn't.
I got a beat up one
It's got
for
those
$150.
sounds
So
Exactly.
You can actually buy it. It's live on Reverb right now. Look at that.
the problem with this guy is if you don't have the damn power supply, good luck, because it's a custom power supply.
It has the power supply, this one.
I know, but I have the rack and I have the module. And I only have one power supply, so I can't use both at once.
I wouldn't be buying this just because it's got the power supply. Let me give you the tip. Yes. What else we got? There's some interesting ones this week. I told you I'd make up for it. What about this one? Yes. Yes. It's not haunted, apparently. I don't know how Hydrosynth...
What's that referring to?
I don't know how Hydrosynth could even get haunted. They haven't been around that long.
It's sold by Zach Baggins, that ghost hunter guy.
Anyway, this is actually also a live listing on Craigslist right now, and it says, as you can see there, this is a live listing. ASM Hydrosynth, not haunted. So yeah.
Is that US dollars or is it Australian dollars?
Is that kind of like a US thing to say that things aren't haunted now, Andy?
I'd say if it had blood on it and said not haunted, that would make more sense. But just saying it's not haunted doesn't mean anything.
No ghost notes from Inky.
Good on you, Inky. That's a good one.
Well done, Lisa.
Yeah. Leave the money on the fridge for Lisa. Right, and this one. Oh my God. So this is real as well. And when I saw this actually. This is on Synth Memes where I found this graphic, right? So here's a Behringer RD9, and I thought, oh, come on, they're taking the P155. No, they're not. It's actually a real listing on Yahoo Marketplace in Japan, and there it is. And yes, it is 216,000 yen. So it's real.
That was $1,600.
$1,600 US dollars, yeah, current exchange rate. So, and by the way, there were more around that price. So some were even more expensive. If you actually go into here and you just type in Behringer RD9.
What's the RD9 supposed to be? I haven't seen the price on it.
Look at that. So
about 300.
Some are low, but there's some higher. Look, there's 221,000, 214, 215. 246.
Is it a supply and demand thing? Are they just not available? Therefore, if you've got one, it's now worth something because they're now sought after too. Because I think a lot of people are trying to get hold of them, but I didn't realise that they were
Yeah.
they were struggling to supply them to shops, perhaps.
I have no
I'll
idea.
look on Gear for Music and see if they've got them in stock.
I think it's supposed to be around about the 50,000 yen mark, by the way, which some of those listings had correctly priced. So I think it's like just one of those things where you see it on eBay, you see it everywhere. This is why we have this. This is why this segment exists, because of idiots like that. And so yes, there's even idiots in Japan. Who would have thought? Right.
Gear for Music right now has the RD9 at £279, and they have 20 plus in stock.
Yeah, there's plenty in stock in Australia.
So
too.
it can't be that. There must be somebody's taking the mickey there, aren't they?
Oh, it's there's, like I showed you before, there were some there for 50-something thousand yen, so which is about the right price. So you could, if you knew what you were doing, you could just have a little bit more of a look and not just go with that one. That is it for Price Watch. We had lots today, so I don't know if you can remember them all, but was there a favourite? Was it the Voyatra? Was it the
Voyatra, because it's unusual.
the RD9?
Yeah.
From Japan.
That's certainly the biggest rip-off.
What do the chatties think? Was it any of those? What was your favourite rip-off of the week? I thought the Roland drum machine was a little bit of a rip-off. £3,000, 6,000 Australian dollars. Wagyu wants the Voyatra.
Oh yeah, that was probably the worst, actually.
I mean, you look at some of those old Lexicon rack reverbs with little remote control. Those are overpriced too. Those are crazy money.
Yeah, they get some stupid money, don't they? A lot of the thing is with a lot of the Japanese-made synths, there's heaps of them available over in Japan, but they just ask for stupid prices. And even if they don't ask for a stupid price, they ask for stupid freight prices. So no matter how hard you try, you're going to get stung somehow from them. And just
when I was looking for the polyvolver racks, 5G had like 4 or 5 of them in stock, and I'm like, yeah, but they're too expensive. It's no way.
Never mind.
Yes. Now, I'm just getting myself all ready here. Right. Good. Okay. We are going to hit this button.
Lisa.
Yes, we have Name That Synth, brought to you by Unify, which is plugin guru. Thanks to Skippy. We do have another video to show this week. I do apologise for last week. We didn't get one to you guys. Just quickly, before we sort of get into it, I do want to give plugin guru a plug, and that's not a bad pun there. Let's bring up their website and give them a plug while I have a little read of this bit of information while I'm at it. So let's go to Unify itself. There's a Father's Day weekend, so we'll talk about that in a sec. Anyway, Unify is a unique software plugin, standalone application that can load all of your instruments. Darren's typing, I'm just going to mute him for a sec. Audio effect, MIDI effect plugins, single combination mode for those of you familiar with combination or multi-mode on your typical hardware workstation type synths. This can do it. You can also easily layer multiples of the same plugin for incredible stacks or splits. You can actually combine up to 24 layers in a single patch. And for those who love the geeky stuff, multi-processor threading, it helps you. So one unique thing about Unify is it loads any existing patch into your current patch with simply a mouse click. Imagine playing a Serum patch and then wanting to add another Serum patch in Unify. You can just set the load module to Unify layer and it will load any patch to do with this in a successive patch as you click. With over 80 plugins now in Unified, which means all your factory patches for Serum, June 3, Wavestation Native, most of Cherry Audio synths, Yuhi synths, we were just talking about Yuhi before with the clap plugin thing. And also Blue Arp is in there. Creating unique patches for productions just becomes something really fun, and only Unify can do this. And you can win it for free. if you dare. If you dare, eh? If you dare. So what is Name That Synth? Name That Synth is a segment which we run on this show. And if you're new here, basically what you're going to do is you're going to watch a video. And that video is going to have audio coming out the back of a synthesizer. And it's going to have some visuals because it's a video, of course. And those visuals are of the actual synthesizer. So in the time that you are watching the video, you are also going to be trying to guess what it is. And you put your answer into the chat room, the YouTube chat room, and we will see whoever guesses it right. And at the end of the video, I'll give you another 30 seconds to have a little think, and then that is it. Time's up when I put my entry in the chat room. Time is up. No more entries coming in. We'll talk about how you can be part of this afterwards, but for now, let's everyone get ready. Let's go into here, and we're going to hit play. I'm just going to mute everyone. Okay, here we go. Right, Name That Synth. Now we're going to give you guys 30 seconds. Yep, time is up. I've put time up in the chat room. So whoever entered it just after me, which I think, unfortunately, Keith, that was you. So you missed out just, oh no, I think you just got in the time. Ian was just out of time there. So, right, anyone that was before my time's up is in with a chance. Now, shall we go and see who got it first? I think we do have a winner. Let's see. There you go. It is the Roland D110, and that was absolutely, I won't say it, very easy. Very easy. Now, I think the first person that mentioned that was you, Brooksy.
Yes. Can't have it. Right. I will get no use from this right now. So whilst it's an amazing prize, no. Who was next one down? JX3D.
JX3D.
Who will almost certainly make much better use of it. So, and people will just say it's a fix. So, no, I didn't know what it was, by the way. I recognised that button straight away as soon as it flashed. Oh, I know exactly what that is. just because these guys here are on the stream,
Roland.
I do not tell them anything. The only people that know is the person that made the video and me. So that's why you'll never ever see me enter it. And even sometimes I like to trick myself and play the video without watching it to the end as well. But in this particular case, I knew straight away what it was. I think a lot of you guys did as well. I think it was pretty obvious, this one. It's good to have an obvious one.
So, yeah, if people are happy for me to go, no, I'll pass that on to the next one down, which was Henrik. If people are happy with that, I'm happy with that too. So, If that's within the rules of the competition.
I think Henrik is actually involved with Unify as well. So let's see if there's a third person down.
Oh,
is he?
So
it's looking so fixed.
The third person down
Neil Wharton,
would be
then.
Neil Wharton. There you go, Neil.
Go on then, Neil.
Woo!
Neil, you just won yourself a free copy of Unify. Let us know if you're okay with that. And if you are, send me your contact name and email address, and I will forward that onto Skippy. So Neil, he seems to be happy. All right. They do take a couple of weeks. Andy, did you get yours? Have you got yours yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so they do take a couple of weeks to get to you guys, so don't expect them to be instantaneous. But there's a few people in the chat now, like Brett, for example. He's already got. He should have his by now.
I certainly have plenty of distractions, so if it's late, it's okay. So
yeah. Okay. It's my contact details. My contact details are on the about page of my YouTube channel. It's very easy to find. So just email to that, or you can contact me through socials. But yeah, Brooksy can send it to me.
Them there, actually.
All right, cool. Yeah, Brett's got it. Good. Yeah, big thank you to Plugin Guru for giving a prize. They don't have to, and it just makes this a little bit more fun. Who enjoyed this week's Name That Synth?
Yeah, it's cool. Always fun.
Always fun.
Yeah.
Now,
I do especially Roland, because it's a similar sort of flashing little key light that's on the XP.
Ooh, okay. I do want to tell everyone how that you can be part of Name That Synth, and I think it's really important that there's actually kind of two ways you can win this. One way is you can guess, like Brooksy did, or by default Neil did. The other way to do it is you can actually do the video, and if you trick everyone and no one guesses what it is, then you could win too. It's almost like a way of winning in a way. So if you do want to send me a video, just make sure it's under a minute. Make sure you only use the sound out of the back of the synth. If that synth has effects, all that sort of stuff, you're welcome to use it, but you can't put any external compression or effects or anything else. It's got to be recorded straight out the back of the synth. Please don't use your phone microphone to record it. If you do send it in and I get back to you and say something's got to change, just be prepared for that. Do not use any sort of copyrighted music. Make sure it's your own. If you can, don't use any demo songs or anything like that. Other than that, it's pretty basic. So send your videos in to me, and I can, once you start talking to me, I can tell you the easy way of doing that. So it's good fun. So I would like to see a lot more of you, start putting some videos into that. It's only a minute video. It shouldn't take you too long. I think, generally speaking, it takes me about an hour to put a Name That Synth video together, which is not really and that's in terms of recording it, editing it, and then uploading it to somewhere so that I can use it on the show. That's not too bad if you do that, and then you might get yourself some software as a result. Now, the reason why we didn't have one last week is because I didn't have time. I'm not always going to have time to do one as a default, and we didn't have anyone send one in. So if you guys want to keep seeing them each week, there's plenty of you people out there. Thanks, Brooksy. You guys can send your submissions in. There's plenty of synths out there that would literally puzzle the pants out of all of us. So if you've got one of those quirky synths, send one in. You never know. Okay, what are we up to? Wow, 2.5 hours streaming, guys. We've been doing it for a long time. Yes. I think we could probably wrap the show up. Darren, do you want me to?
Okay.
Do you want me to play video, or do you want them to go to your YouTube channel?
It's entirely up to you, Ranzee, because I haven't seen it, and I still need to find out what the little muppet's been up to.
All right. I could end up getting copyright strikes or God knows what for doing this, but hell, what the hell? All right, guys, I want you guys to go and watch this over on Darren's channel. But hey, let's see what he's been up to.
Stay out of the studio. You can sort that off. I've got tunes to write and albums to make. Bloody hell. And this Eric, what's that all about? All he ever did was sell jeans, and he just squeaked. That Eric can kiss my furry purple ass. Anyway, I've got to switch this stuff on. And that. Yeah, I just need to get up onto the chair, I think, so I can talk. Come on. Hello, Rave here. I haven't got long before Darren comes back. Well, just today, my album's less than a month away. You need to get on to Darren's Bandcamp so that you know when his album, or should I say, not just his album, my album is out. It's gonna be large. Anyway, got more tunes to write. So, ta-da! Babe. Oh,
Darren. Oh, you can't let him in there, mate. He's going to wreck the place, eh? How much damage did he do this
Fraggle
time?
Rock is more like Fraggle Acid.
He's completely wrecked it. He's wrecked it. This is why I'm struggling with the last track. I'm struggling. It's like everything. I might get that Moog actually because it's got those small knobs. You won't be able to pull them off.
Yeah, there's a joke in that. I'm not going to go there.
Wait till his album's out because there's a few top tracks on there.
Yes. Well, you need to check out Darren's Bandcamp channel, as Rave Dave so correctly mentioned. And yeah, if you aren't on that, then you should be getting onto that now. It's pretty easy to follow or subscribe or whatever. So just go do it. Definitely just go do it. Don't forget also, Brooksy's got his YouTube, not YouTube, his Bandcamp channel that he's doing with Grace. There's the collaboration, and he's got his own thing as well. So go check out Brooksy's. There's links to everyone's details in the description of the video, and also the blog article. The blog article, yes. I keep forgetting to mention this. So before we wrap up the show, I do want to show you the blog article. Now, when you guys go to my website, right, which is ranzee.com, if you're ever wondering how to get there, there it is, ranzee.com. There's a link to this blog article. Every single week I do the show. I also do a backup blog article at the end. Now, at the moment, you can see that it's protected. It says password protected. You can't get in there. The reason is you've got to give me a chance to just quickly upload all the memes and the price watch stuff and all that sort of stuff. Once it's in there, I can show you the previous episode there. You'll be able to see everything that we showed in the previous show, who were the guests, and you can actually watch the replay of the show. All the memes are in there. So do check out the blog article. If you do end up watching this and you want to find out how to get to stuff, there's links to, like I even actually went to a pretty lot of effort to talk about the MPC update. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? You can even get the download it, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, make sure you do check that out, because I do put a little bit of effort into that, and I kind of hope it's not going on to deaf ears. And the other thing I want to do briefly is I want to thank everyone who supports me and the channel and the show. And obviously these gentlemen here are always regulars on the show, so big thank you to you guys. But also I want to thank these people. So a big thank you to all the supporters, channel members, patrons, and obviously to Plugin Guru for supporting the Name That Synth segment. Thank you to our regular video guests, Brooksy, Darren, and Andy. Many appreciate you guys giving up your free time to come on the show. It's been fun. It always is fun every week, talking about synths and mucking around. I mentioned at the start of this show that we're going to be doing another version of Subscribers Studios. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, send your photos in via Discord or to my socials of your studio. Take your photo. Take a decent high res pic. Don't send me a low res one. Take a decent high res if you want to zoom in and look at some gear and things like that. We are going to be going through everyone's submitted photos, and that may be the next episode coming up. It depends on how many pics we get. If we get enough, we'll do it next week. If not, we'll do it the week after. So send your pics in.
Yeah, send them in.
And we can do that. Subscribers. It's a good show. We always have fun doing that, looking at people's gear and how they've set it up and everything. So, yeah. All right. Anyone want to say quick final words before we go? Other than that, we'll go. All good?
Nice to see everyone.
I think I've got someone to talk to, so
we'll say goodbye then.
Yes.
All right.
Everyone,
take care.
All the best.
See you.
See you later.
Bye.
Enjoy your week.
Bye.